I stepped through the front door, bits of glittery streamers tangled in the collar of my sweater, and a forgotten party favor, a tiny paper flag on a stick tumbling out of my bag onto the welcome mat. The place was hushed, that deep stillness where the air feels thicker, pressing in like an uninvited guest. I flicked on the lamp by the hall table, its warm glow chasing shadows from the corners, and sank onto the edge of the couch, kicking off my flats with a sigh that echoed too loudly. What I craved was a mug of chamomile, and the kind of quiet that lets your thoughts settle like dust after a windstorm. But then I pulled out my phone, thumbed through the notifications, and there it was, a voice note from my son, just a handful of words that hit like a sudden gust, stealing my breath. Before I unravel this for you, pause for a second and let me know. What's the view from your spot right now? Whisper your town in the replies if you're up for it. Maybe a cozy apartment in Boston with rain tapping the window, or a sunlit deck in Austin, the grill still smoky from dinner. It pulls me right into your world, makes this feel less like a solo confession and more like us sharing a late-night fire. The evening had kicked off at a lively gathering for my longtime friend turning 55, out in her sprawling garden under strings of fairy lights that bobbed like fireflies on a breeze. There was a playlist heavy on classic soul tunes, looping those golden oldies that had everyone swaying, even the folks who'd sworn off dancing years ago. I grinned through stories swapped over slices of coconut cream pie, my face aching from the effort, while a guy with a beat-up guitar coaxed us into a half-hearted conga line. Amid the chatter and the fizz of sparkling cider, I caught myself in a rare bubble of contentment. Nothing flashy, just the easy joy of being surrounded by familiar faces, laughter bubbling up unforced. It clung to me on the drive back, the windows rolled down to scoop up the crisp autumn chill, my sensible pumps abandoned on the floor mat beside me. I hung my keys on the hook by the mirror, the jangle slicing the silence and padded barefoot across the cool hardwood toward the kitchen. The air carried a faint whiff of vanilla from the candle I'd burned that morning, mingled with the earthy dampness seeping in from an earlier shower. I woke my phone again, and that's when the screen betrayed me. A message from Lucas, my boy. "Hey, Mom, let's keep things more planned from now on. No more surprise visits. We need some room to figure this out. Boundaries, you know?" I stared, the words blurring for a beat, like my eyes were playing tricks. Tucked beneath it was an audio clip dropped just minutes after. I tapped play, heart thudding already. His tone came through clipped, hurried, the kind of rush you hear when someone's pacing a cluttered living room at midnight. "Mom, about that text, yeah, I meant it. Mia and I were swamped right now. The little one's been fussy nonstop, and your drop-ins? They just add to the pile. Give us a breather, okay? We'll reach out when we can." A beat of static, then softer, almost pleading, "Don't turn this into a fight, please." The recording clicked off, leaving me rooted in the dim entryway, the outdoor lamp casting a ghostly outline across the rug like a chalk mark on pavement. Surprise visits? As if those couple of times I'd swung by with homemade stew and a stack of folded onesies after their newborn arrived were some kind of siege. As if my quiet awe at those minuscule booties dangling from my fingers like fragile promises crossed some invisible line. Sure, I'd shot off a quick heads-up text each time, but apparently that wasn't enough. What cut deepest was the undercurrent, my son drawing a line to keep me at arm's length. It burned, a sharp twist in my gut, and left an echo of emptiness that made the walls feel farther apart. They call me Elena, 48 going on forever curious, and I've spent my days as the one who mends. I patch frayed hems on costumes for school plays, tighten loose drawer pulls with a twist of my wrist. Emotions? I smooth those with fresh-baked scones or words I string together like beads, even when they're not mine to polish. Back when Lucas was knee-high, a scraped elbow got fixed with a glow-in-the-dark bandage and a tall tale about brave knights. As he stretched into his teens, testing wings and slamming doors, I bridged the gaps with invitations to ball games, offers to proofread essays. Need me to grab groceries while you're slammed? I figured it was support, a steady hand. Looking back, maybe it was my way of shouting affection into the void, filling silences I couldn't bear. I laid the phone face down on the counter, as if that could mute its sting, and busied myself with the faucet, letting water roar to drown out the hum in my head. The digital clock on the stove glowed 11:17, its red digits mocking my disarray. I set a pot for herbal tea, gazing out at the yard where dew silvered the grass. Across the low fence of jasmine bushes, a soft amber light spilled from my neighbor's den window, framing a silhouette bent over what looked like a puzzle. Marcus lived there, the guy with the impeccably trimmed hedges and eyes that crinkled like parchment when he pondered a joke. 5 years a widower now, his loss a quiet shadow we both navigated, like maps to cities we'd left behind. As if sensing my stare, his sidelight blinked to life. And seconds later, a gentle rap echoed from the side gate. "It's only me," his voice filtered through, warm and unhurried. "Your yard light's acting up again, flickering like it's got secrets. All good in there?" I unlatched the door, waving him in with a half-smile that felt more like a grimace. "Come on through. It's whatever it is. Might sort itself or not. Jury's out." He crossed the threshold, taking in the scene. Me, disheveled with party remnants dusting my sleeves, throat tight as a knotted rope. Marcus had this gift for pausing without pressure. His silence is a gentle net rather than a trap. He placed a canvas tote on the island and fished out a tin of spiced pear jam. "The market was fresh out of that ginger brew you like. This is from the local orchard folks. Call it a truce from the fruit trees." A chuckle escaped me, jagged around the edges. "Truce?" I wasn't aware we'd declared battle. He arched a brow, the gesture light but probing, an invitation wrapped in patience. I nudged the phone his way, letting the screen spill its truth. He read, jaw tightening just a fraction, then eased it back like handling fine china. "Boundaries?" he murmured, voice low as a confidante's. Folks toss that around when they're afraid of getting lost in the tide. It doesn't always scream, "Stay back." Often it's more like, "Help me hold on to who I am while we're in this together." But it sure rings like, "Keep out to me," I shot back, the words tasting bitter. He nodded, no argument, just acknowledgement. And sometimes that's exactly the echo it leaves. A beat hung, then, "Tea sound right? Or should we raid the whiskey for clarity's sake?" I opted for tea, headspace over haze, and he moved to the stove like he'd mapped my routines long ago. It was effortless, the way his steps synced with the room's pulse, pulling down the mismatched ceramic cups from the overhead rack, the ones with faint glaze cracks like whispered stories. In that moment, it struck me, this is what being truly seen feels like. Not the polished exterior from the party, but the raw edges, the midnight unraveling. We settled at the scarred oak table, vapors curling from our drinks like tentative bridges. Beyond the pane, leaves rustled in a lazy gust, tapping the glass like Morse code. I spilled it all. The garden bash, the way a shared anecdote had lodged a grin in my jaw until it cramped, the toddler in a lopsided hat who dozed off mid-bite, chocolate smeared like war paint. Then the gut punch of Lucas's words, how they sat heavy in my ribs like undigested regret. "I know I come on strong," I admitted, tracing the mug's rim, showing up with lasagnas like they're magic fixes. "Truth is, it might be my anchor, clinging so I don't float away alone." Marcus leaned in, gaze steady on the rising mist. When Clara's illness dragged on, the kitchen overflowed with pies and stews, enough to feed an army. At first it grated, every covered dish a nudge that our world had tilted. But after, God, I ached for them. Not the flavors, but the gesture. Proof that arms were outstretched, even when I couldn't voice the ache. Asking for that kind of hold? It's a language I never quite mastered. We drank in companionable quiet, the pot ticking as it cooled, a metallic sigh. The house joined in with its nocturnal creaks, settling beams, a distant drip, my pulse easing from frantic flutter to even thrum. "Mind if I offer something that might sting a bit?" He ventured, eyes kind but direct. I dipped my head, bracing. "You've shouldered loads for ages, Elena. Folks got used to leaning, knowing you'd catch it all without a wobble. Lucas is forging his own path now, with Mia and the baby. It's messy, the words he picks. He isn't off base for craving his footing, and neither are you for longing to stay woven in. Room for both. The bridge between? It's dialogue, not distance." I exhaled, long and slow, the air carrying fragments of relief. Dialogue without me groveling for the right to just be here? That's uncharted for me. His grin was subtle, a lighthouse flicker. "Then let's map it. Begin small. I love you and I'm here when you ring. No justifications. No side of advice baked in." The hush that followed wrapped around us soft as flannel, my palms soaking warmth from the clay. The night's real surprise wasn't the message that blindsided me. Tea was how Marcus's steady nearness reshuffled my worries, clearing a path to something resembling hope. One thing on my mind, I said, voice threading the quiet. Those nights when the rooms echo too much, like the walls are listening back, what pulls you through? He tilted his chin, mulling. I build. A loaf of rye that rises stubborn, a wonky shelf for stray books, a sketch that ends up more smudge than art. It turns hollow spaces into possibilities, not punishments. A pause, then. Or I cue up a track from back when joy was simpler. Let it flood the corners till everything vibrates. He glanced up. Want to try one? The yes slipped out before doubt could snag it, surprising even me. He drew his phone from his jacket, fingers dancing the screen, and soon a vintage Stevie Wonder melody spilled out, smooth as honey over gravel, filling the air with its soulful sway. He didn't crowd, didn't presume, just let the rhythm linger like a shared secret. Then, cup set aside, he extended his palm, lines etched like rivers on a well-traveled map. If it feels right, he said simply. This unexpected turn, gentle, not grasping, the sort that honors edges. I studied his hand, sensing it as a lifeline, not a leash. My own settled into it, a silent vow forming. I'd welcome this closeness, tender and timed to the tune's arc. We rose, shifting in a loose rhythm, more drift than whirl. My temple brushed near his collar, but held space, inhaling notes of sandalwood and fresh linen, the quiet care of days stacked with intention. The overhead fixture haloed the salt shaker on the sill, gilding it ordinary magic. A distant truck rumbled by, tires sighing over damp asphalt. I'm texting Lucas come dawn, I murmured, words weaving under the melody. Not to patch or plead, just to say I listened and let's sketch a new way forward. Solid ground to start on, he replied, thumb grazing my knuckles feather-light. Will it shrink me somehow? The worry tumbled out, raw and unnamed till then. He wove our fingers looser, a loose knot of trust. Only if you beg forgiveness for it. Own your care for him. Claim the softness you deserve. Propose your lines, hear his. Hold your ground, it's yours by right. The song faded to its final breath, and he eased away, granting the quiet its due. No scramble to chatter. We let it breathe. It mirrored the calm after thunder, tallying heartbeats between swells. He cleared the cups under the tap, suds blooming white, and I grabbed the linen cloth. Our knuckles grazed, mine on his, and laughter bubbled up, pure and unburdened. Twice that evening, surprise had morphed. First in sorrow's sharp arrival, then in Solace's quiet claim. Want me to tame that gate lamp before I head out? He asked, nodding toward the side door, where the bulb stuttered like a hesitant storyteller. I curved a smile. You spotted it, huh? I spot a lot, he said, shrugging easy. Comes with the territory. We slipped outside, the night air nipping crisp and true, stars pricking the velvet sky. He twisted off the frosted cover, cupping it gentle as a fledgling, squinting at the fixture. Clouds veiled the quarter moon, softening edges. From the toolkit tucked on my porch rail, he swapped in a spare bulb, flipped the toggle. Clean light bathed the path, reliable as dawn's first blush. We lingered in that pool of glow, two souls in adjoining orbits, solitude softened by proximity. Thanks, I breathed. Anytime, he echoed. Elena? One more thing, yeah? Give the words a night to simmer. Let the sun pen the opener. His steps receded down the path, gate latching soft. I secured the door, pressing my brow to the chilled pane. Shadows pooled in the hall, but that lamp burned true. I scrubbed my face with cool water, slipped into a worn cotton tee that smelled of lavender, and perched on the bed's lip, phone cradled like a fragile egg. Fingers flew and faltered, erase, rewrite until... Lucas, I love you fierce. I get it, I'll hold space till you call. And when the moment's right, let's craft this better, together. No dispatch yet. I parked it on the bureau, hand splayed over my chest, echoing the ritual from his toddler fevers, willing calm through skin. The home exhaled around me, branches scraping siding like a lullaby's brush, eyes drifting shut. I envisioned you, the listener in Denver's glow or Portland's drizzle, curled on a love seat with a cat purring against your knee, screen-casting blue on your face. Your lampshades, your half-read novels, your pauses, they tether us, a fragile web across miles. That evening taught me the spectrum of tremors, those that topple you flat, and those that rouse you to stand taller. It bloomed from a note I dreaded into a palm I cherished, extended plain and met with grace. Dawn hovered, gathering gold at the curtain's hem, a vow biding time till hands were steady enough to grasp. Sunlight pierced the drapes sooner than I bargained, spilling across the quilt in golden fingers. I lingered abed, tracing the light's creep over popcorn-textured plaster. Lucas's note still throbbing like a fresh welt beneath my breastbone. The device lay weighty beside me, my draft from sleepless hours untouched, concise, gracious, unburdened by self-doubt. Now, thumb poised, the send loomed like a threshold, one push from irreversible. I tapped it free. The chime whispered out, a sparrow loose to wing its way. My ribs constricted, then yielded, and I tuned to the morning's symphony, faucets murmuring, joists groaning awake, that lamp holding its vigil. Coffee brewed strong, its aroma coiling rich, and I claimed the table, letting quiet expand unfilled, no drone of news, no playlist hum. Just presence. Then the tap, tentative, familiar, at the back. Marcus framed the threshold, coat slung open, strands tousled by the wind's playful tug. Morning light suits you. Was en route to the lumberyard. Any wants? Screws, paint swatches, maybe a fresh take on letting go? I quirked a lip despite the knot. Eggs if you're listing. But the philosophy's free shipping. He entered smooth, the space yielding like old friends. The message fly? A nod from me. Part of me itches to hide in the closet. The rest? Unloaded somehow. Classic split, truth in the tension. He claimed a mug unbidden, pouring dark brew, the pour a ritual of ease that startled in its rightness. Welcome as birdsong. The buzz sliced sharp, Lucas's name aglow. My swallow caught. Marcus met my gaze, a mute query. Linger? My chin dipped. He anchored the chair as I lifted the call. Mom. Lucas's timbre softened from the eave's edge, laced with caution. Your note landed right. I didn't aim to slam the door. Mia and I were underwater. The kids' cries echo round the clock. Sleep's a myth. Your pop-ins? They turn us into performers when we're just surviving. A hitch. It's not rejection. We crave you near. Just paste. Lids shut, I cradled the piece Marcus had helped forge. I feel that. I'll pause till you signal. Then perhaps ways I can lift without the load? Quiet stretched, fractured by his sigh, uncoiled. Huge. Sorry, Mom, the delivery sucked. Should have framed it kinder. We lingered on the line, trading tales of the infant's fierce grip on his thumb, Mia's weary sobs into pillows, the tidal pull of new parenthood's raw tide. Click, and my fingers quivered, not dread, but release. Marcus bridged the table, palm hovering till my faint tilt invited contact. You spoke your piece without dimming your light, he noted, voice a low anchor. A watery laugh escaped, vision misting. Nearly didn't stick the landing? But you did, he pressed, thumb circling mine soft. That's the spark. The rest unfolds. The hours bloomed anew. I wandered the neighborhood loop, sun gilding oak leaves to copper, giggles drifting from the playground like confetti on wind. At the market, eggs joined the cart, plus a whim-spurred armful of peonies, dusky pink bursts evoking crushed velvet. Homeward, Marcus tussled with a tangled hose in his drive. I brandished the blooms aloft. Split the cheer, our counters could use the pop, I called, emblem of beauty's ambush. He grinned, swiping sweat from his temple. Bargain you my latest whittled folly, a lopsided lantern from scraps. Hang low. It's tipsy as a storyteller after tales. Laughter rang clear, bridging our yards. Not strangers, not yet woven tight, but threads inching closer, patient as seasons. Dusk found me on the glider swing, peonies perfuming the rail, vase catching twilight's bruise. Lucas hadn't barred me eternal. His plea was a fumbled bid for air, met with my measured bridge. In the crossing, I'd unearthed a ballast long adrift, roots in my own soil. Not every chapter ties with a bow, but some dawns whisper restarts, palms that steady across divides, melodies that buoy you through shadowed halls till gleam reclaims the room. And now and then, it gifts companions who mend stuttering lights, and souls who grasp that quakes aren't solely fractures, they're the earth's nod to budding stronger. As the stars pricked through, I let my mind wander further back to the years that shaped this fixer in me. My own mother had been a whirlwind, flitting from job to dream, leaving gaps I learned to fill with lists and laughter. When she passed too soon, in her 40s from a heart that gave out mid-laugh, I vowed no one in my circle would feel that void. Lucas's father, gone early to a rig accident offshore, only sharpened the edge. I poured double into our duo, crafting forts from sheets and midnight cocoa rituals. But time carves its own script, doesn't it? Kids launch, nests empty, and suddenly you're auditing your habits under a harsh new lens.